Okay, I think we're live. Jordan, I think we're live. I don't know if you can hear me, see me.
Welcome.
Guys, they're about to start the caucus.
Hi, my name is Mel.
We're here at the Bellagio in Las Vegas, and you are going to see live the actual caucus process. We are here in person because of you guys. Smash that like button so more people see what's going on.
This is the location for shift workers and those of you that work with.
They're talking about the fact that a lot of shift workers are here, a lot of union members are here. This is a very diverse group.
Provided to me by the Nevada Dems.
So I'm kind of getting information on the fly. I can't talk really loud, but that's okay. I want to tell you a few things before we get started, before they start shifting into their caucus locations. Actually, Ryan Grimm is reporting that he heard from a campaign that party officials told them there aren't enough volunteers to be precinct chairs, so they're asking campaigns to provide them, setting up a conflict of interest, and probably benefits Sanders, who will have volunteers everywhere. So that is really, really interesting that there aren't enough volunteers, that they're now taking volunteers from the campaigns. I can see why Ryan Grimm thinks that might be an okay thing, but I can also see why that's a really, really scary thing. Because if you're pulling in volunteers from other campaigns, that is a conflict of interest. I mean, people all have their preferences. Every single person who volunteers has a preference. But now to ask for volunteers from actual campaigns, I don't know. That doesn't sit right with me, for sure. I also want to update you on the final Nevada caucus projections. In the initial vote, Sanders is projected at 34.6% and projected at 17 delegates. Pete Buttigieg at 16.1% and 8 delegates. And 15.1% and 6 delegates. Biden at 14.8% and 4 delegates. Steyer at 11.7% and 1 delegate. So, again, Bernie Sanders, this is the third most recent poll that we've had. This is the most recent poll that we had, and still Bernie Sanders is coming out ahead. All of the volunteers I talked to said they were acting as if Bernie Sanders was 10 points behind, and they were still fighting and volunteering and doing absolutely everything they could do to get the vote out. As we were entering into the Bellagio, there were caucusers for Bernie standing outside, or canvassers for Bernie, supporters of Bernie, trying to get people to caucus for him. So they were inside, they were outside. There's also, interestingly, a Tom Steyer delegation here. So there were supporters of his holding signs and trying to convince people. And that's the thing is, caucuses happen on the fly. It's not like you enter in kind of privately and there's no... you're not allowed within a certain distance to try to get people to switch to your vote. Caucuses are all about kind of convincing people to your side. There are undecided people here. There are people here whose first choice will not get through and they'll have to go on to their second choice. So there's a lot of convincing that happens here. Tom Steyer himself was right outside this room. Convincing voters, getting interviewed by media. So they're electing the permanent chair and secretary.
Viability is the minimum number of people each preference group.
They're going through the rules to make sure everybody understands what's going on. One of the things that we reported on is the early vote kind of debacle. So they had, this is actually the first time that they allowed early voting or had a process for early voting in Nevada. And so they had 4 days of that. It had incredible turnout. I believe it was 79,000 people did early voting across those 4 days. Last time around, they only had 86,000 people caucus in all. So this was, it's going to be record amounts of turnout here. We'll see what it is on actual caucus day. So the issue is that early votes cannot be cross-referenced. No way to tell if your vote is here other than a serial number, which you can't verify. So, sorry, I'm listening to what people are saying to the side of me. So these people early voted. They actually threw out 1,000 early voting ballots for things like lack of signature. And they also had to rank their top 3 candidates, not just one. And if they left off a candidate, then their vote was tossed out. But the state party said that didn't really happen all that often, but the lack of signature was a big problem. So originally we thought that they were not going to be able to learn. People weren't going to learn if their ballot had been tossed. We're getting conflicting reports about that, but supposedly the parties did did say that, in fact, they would be notifying people. The problem is, there's a reason those people early voted. Are they going to show up today to caucus? We don't know. We don't know in what numbers they will show up, because you have to be here at a caucus at a very specific time, literally right now. And if you're not here, then it doesn't work. So I'm going to step behind the barrier and let you watch the process from here on out. We will try to go live and interview people afterwards. We'll have to be moving the camera for that. Remember to smash that like button. It's so important. It gets YouTube's algorithm to show the stream to more people. So you're going to watch a caucus live. Let's go.
While we double check our numbers, viability is based on the number of delegates allotted to each at-large and the number of total caucus attendees. We will determine the number needed for group viability.
I want to welcome 4 new members. Thank you guys so much for joining. I know you can't see me right now, but hopefully you can hear me. Your membership really helps us grow. You're the reason we're out here in the field. You're the reason that we're seeing this caucus live. Please go to statuscoup.com/join.
Rachel will be here as a poster. Yep, great, thank you. Keep your ballots in your hands, please, so Phil can double check. Have ballots in your hands. We're on an accurate count, so keep your ballots in your hands, please.
I didn't want to go.
While we're waiting for the process to play out, you won't see me, but I am actually sitting under the microphone watching this process. I'm going to talk quietly and fill you in on what's going on.
Keep your ballots in your hands, please, just so we get an accurate count. Ballots in hands, especially if you're on the wall.
So they have their ballots in their hands. They are holding them up. I want to share the entrance polls with you. Let's see here, 1 second. 38% of caucus goers are under the age of 45, 62% are over the age of 45. Those are similar numbers to 2016. Also, and this is good news for Bernie Sanders, 6 in 10 voters are in favor of eliminating private insurance in favor of Medicare for all. So that actually makes 3 states in a row for Medicare for all. And as we know, overall polling shows that this country by far supports Medicare for all. Again, we are here at the Bellagio, and you are watching a caucus process play out live. And we are here because of you guys. I want to welcome our new members, Ian, William, Anthony, Michael, Matthew, and Stephen. You guys are so amazing. Thank you so much for joining. You are the reason we are in the field reporting. Can't thank you enough. go to statuscoup.com/join. Please join. We are bringing this live to you, and it's because of you. It's for you. And we're so proud and happy to be here. The entrance poll also shows that Bernie has 51% of Hispanic vote right now. Remember to smash that like button so that more people see this stream. That's how YouTube's algorithm works. So just look for the thumbs up button right underneath this video. If you're on mobile, just close out the live chat and you'll see the like button there. We've also opened up a new form of support. So if you want to help fund this trip and fund Jordan going to South Carolina for the primary, please go to statuscoup.com/supportsc. That's statuscoup.com/supportsc. We've been hearing some interesting things out of caucus sites, such as the lists for press, and we're still kind of verifying this, but the list for caucus locations that they gave to the press are different than when people actually go in and enter in their address online. That actually happened to Marcus Ely, who has freelanced for us and who will likely be a guest on the show later on today because he lives here. Also, from the entrance polls, 52% are first-time caucus goers. This is really good news for Bernie Sanders, who has so many volunteers on the ground who are helping to turn out the vote for him. We've interviewed with many of them in the days that Jamal and I have been here. You can see ahead of you, we have Bernie Sanders supporters holding signs, walking to the side of the room on the right here. Again, we're in the Bellagio ballroom. It is.
All right, the number needed for a preference group to be viable is 19. We have 123 people in the room voting. So that's a 123. We counted that multiple times to make sure it's accurate, and the viability group is 19. Now that we know the number needed for viability, it is time to join our presidential preference groups. Before we start, I would like to remind everyone, all public meetings,
they just said that you need 19 people caucusing for you as a candidate in order to be viable.
Race, color, creed, national origin, religion, ethnic identity, sexual orientation, gender identity and expression, economic status, philosophical persuasion, or physical disability.
By my count, Bernie in this room might not make it.
With their presidential preference. Please go and stand in the preference group of your choice. That begins now. So you guys will want to.
Okay, so we have this core group of Bernie supporters who are trying to convince people over to their side. So I had counted actually before they officially all went over to the side that they are caucusing with. So now we see a flow of people going to Bernie's side of the room, and that's how caucuses work. You know, you don't just come in and check a ballot. You actually physically walk. You're in a room with all these people, with your coworkers, with your neighbors. You physically walk to one side of the room or another. There are culinary workers in here, a lot of union members in here. It's really interesting to see who is going where. And again, one of the kind of scary things for people is that your boss can see which side you caucus for. Your neighbors can see which side you caucus for. So that's what some people don't like about the caucus process, is because some people may feel pressured to go to one side or another. And again, if a candidate doesn't meet minimum viability, then they have to switch sides. And then those the viable candidates try to convince people to come on over to them. This process is really interesting to watch. The Bernie side has grown substantially. I don't have a count at the moment, and I am not allowed to walk over there. We have the Joe Biden side, which looks like it has quite a lot of support. Elizabeth Warren, not really a lot of support here. Does not look to me like she'll reach viability. Bernie for sure will reach viability. Biden will reach viability. And I can't see other signs. There's also a slew of observers that are behind a velvet rope as they're watching this caucus play out, and that's how it's supposed to be. They're supposed to allow anyone to come and observe the process, which is supposed to, increase its small d sort of democracy. I want to welcome new member Mika, and new member, I really don't want to mispronounce your name. I'm going to say Bainik. I'm so sorry if I mispronounced that. I am so glad you guys joined. Thank you so, so much. Again, you're the reason we're on the ground. We are now at 1,380 members. We are just 120 members away from 1,500. Please, please join right now. Go to statuscoup.com/join. We cannot report in the field without you, and we need to get to 1,500 members if we want Jordan to be able to go to South Carolina. Please, statuscoup.com/join. You can actually see that culinary workers are on the side caucusing for Bernie, despite the kind of the leadership that came out essentially against Bernie and essentially, well, completely against his Medicare for All proposal. But it looks like individual members can hear people Bernie voters cheering loud, Biden voters cheering loud, Elizabeth Warren voters kind of just standing there, not cheering. Not surprising on that front.
It looks like you all didn't need the whole 15 minutes. Is that correct? I'm confirming. Is everyone with their group? If you are confirming that everyone's in their correct group, let's say aye. Great. Then I'm going to direct you to complete the first blue side of your presidential preference card.
So they each in their hands have a presidential preference card in their hands, and so they fill out who that is on this first round here. They're filling in who they've chosen on this first round.
Ahorita quiero asegurar que todos están en su grupo que quieren. Eso es lo que le acabo de preguntar en inglés. Si estás con tu candidato, empieza a llenar la forma azul, el lado de la forma azul.
Smash that like button, guys. Let's get this viewership up. More people need to see this process and how it plays out.
党員集会が始まりました。参加者は投票用紙に意中の候補の名前。
It is enormous and incredible that 51% of the Hispanic vote in the early polling or the early entrance polls shows Bernie very much leading with the Latino community, which is what we expected. And actually, that's a little bit lower than what some of the polling had suggested. So we'll see how that shakes out as we get more information coming in. And so far, Biden has 36% of black votes, 25% Bernie, Steyer 17%. Remember, these are not actual figures. These are entrance polls. So when I am quoting these figures, we don't have actual results in. These are just entrance polls. Among those labeling themselves very liberal according to entrance polls, Bernie is at 52% and Warren is at 17%. Which again is not really a surprise.
Fill out your ballot. We'll only be taking ballots from the groups.
We have almost 1,300 viewers. Thank you guys so much for watching, but we only have 643 likes. Please smash that like button. It's the thumbs up button right underneath this video. If you're on mobile, just go ahead and close out the live chat briefly and smash that like button. The more you smash it, the more likely people are to see this feed.
or more to have viability. So
again, the groups that do not have 19 people in them are not going to be viable. So they're going to have to choose another candidate. And they will, you can hear people trying to convince others to go to their side. So these Warren supporters who are not going to be viable, Warren will not be viable right here in the Bellagio, they will have to go to another candidate. And so they're Biden supporters and Bernie supporters are trying to convince them to come on over once that time comes. That's what they will do. But they're already kind of starting to. And people hold up their preference cards so they get counted.
Can be here, but in the shop inside. So outside
You can see as they are counted, they've then put their hands down that is holding the preference card. Bernie supporters are cheering.
I just want to clarify too. Let me have you guys listen because it affects your groups. Hang on. When the time comes for second alignment, you're going to nominate one person from your group to talk to the other people in the room who did not have a viable candidate. So you have to nominate one person to speak to the people who did not have a viable candidate.
Welcome, new members, Scott, Brendan, and Kelly. Oh my goodness, thank you guys so much for joining. You're absolutely amazing. We are now just 117 members away from 1,500, which is the number that we need so that we can send Jordan to cover the South Carolina primary. Please keep joining. Please check out all the extra content you'll get, behind the scenes video diaries, member calls, and Jordan and I are going to also give you a personal call or make you a personal video if you join before the end of this caucus and help us get to 1,500 members. Join, statuscoup.com/join. You may have heard the announcement that they're going to nominate, the viable groups are going to nominate one person to try to convince the non-viable supporters to come on over to their side. So I believe they are about to count the Bernie Sanders caucusers. Remember to smash that like button. Also, oh, here we go. So the Bernie Sanders caucusers are holding up their their presidential preference card and being counted. And once they are counted, they put their hand down. Bernie Sanders has certainly reached the threshold for viability. The first count was 76 for Bernie. And now, this time around, they're taking the ballot as they do the count, collecting the presidential preference cards. I love all these new members coming in. Thank you so, so much. Keep it going. It is so important that we get Jordan on the ground in South Carolina. If Bernie, in fact, wins Nevada, that would mean he's won the first 3 states. They're going to pull out all the stops to try to stop Bernie Sanders. And by they, I mean the Democratic establishment and friends. So we really need Jordan on the ground there, reporting, being with the people, seeing all the shenanigans that could happen on the road. This is major. We really need to get there. Help us get to 1,500 members. statuscoup.com/join. We're waiting for the second count. They came up with 76 once again, so that is what they will put up on the board. I want to welcome new member Lee Granville. Thank you so, so much for joining. I'm sorry I can't do any cheering for you because we're being shushed, but I'm so happy you joined. Thank you so, so much. Everyone, please join. It's just as low as $5 a month. statuscoup.com/join. Now, entrance polls are also showing us that healthcare was the top issue on their minds. So this is something that we saw in other states as well. More than 4 in 10 picked it, followed by climate change, which was roughly a quarter of voters, followed by income inequality and foreign policy. So these are very much Bernie Sanders issues. Not only is he the only Medicare for All candidate, but he has the most comprehensive climate change, climate crisis plan. And he is the king when it comes to talking about income inequality as well. So this bodes well for Bernie for sure. Remember to smash that like button and get more people to see this stream. It's the thumbs up button right underneath this video. Also, leave super chats. Super chats help us so, so much. We really, really appreciate all of you guys. This has been amazing. You are seeing this caucus live. We are at the Bellagio in Las Vegas. Today is the Nevada caucuses, and here we are bringing it right to you.
I'm watching too now. I think they're just counting maybe.
I just want to clarify for the group, someone realigned from Warren's camp early, so Bernie's group is actually 75 and Warren's is 6. So just clarify.
So you heard that. They actually dropped Bernie's count down by 1 because a Warren supporter realigned before the actual realignment.
Recorded, we're going to proceed with the caucus. At this point, we will move to second alignment. During this time, caucus attendees and non-viable groups may realign. You will have up to 15 minutes to do so. People who are already aligned with a viable group are unable to change preference groups. If you could please have one representative from each preference group come up and give a brief 1-minute statement on behalf of their preference group. So that means our 2 viable groups, you'll have one person who can come up here and pitch the room.
So Biden and Bernie are viable, so they are nominating one person from each camp. Each camp is nominating their own one single person to go make a pitch to try to convince other caucusers to come on over to their side. So meaning the non-viable groups will then choose a new group to go to. Welcome, new member James. That's amazing. We are 115 members away from 1,500. We also just passed 2,000 live viewers. We are booming. So please, please join statuscoup.com/join. Oh my goodness, we have even more members coming in. James, Nick, and Kurt, thank you so, so much.
Florida. My mom is Colombian, my father is Moroccan, and I stand here today for Joe Biden. I am here for Joe Biden because he is the president that's going to fight for people like me and my family and yourself. Joe knows workers and their families, and he understands they are the backbone of this country. Trump fans the flames of hate and tries to take away Obamacare, and he does the bidding of the NRA. Joe is going to ensure that every American has access to quality, affordable health care, and that you are given the choice of what health care you want to have. Joe got Obamacare done with President Obama. As president, he will protect it and expand it. He has defeated the NRA twice. Joe Biden is here for all of us, and he's going to have experience.
Thank you so much.
Okay, you heard that impassioned plea for Joe Biden,
All right, let's
where she said that he defeated the NRA twice. They don't seem very defeated to me, but okay.
I work here at the Bellagio. I am a culinary union member and a Bernie Sanders supporter. I believe that his Medicare for All guarantee will actually help the town when we are and it will look out for all of our family members that don't have the union right that we have to fight for our health care. I think that my children and your children and future generations should all have health care. The co-pays are astronomical under Obamacare, and I want us to have the most viable candidate to beat Trump. We need to protect our people that come here to become U.S. citizens. My family itself is a second generation, and I just believe that Bernie Sanders will stand with the people. He stood with us before. He stands on the lines when we're fighting against these
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So you can hear the cheers both from the Bernie caucusers as well as the observers.
Now let the second alignment begin. You'll have 15 minutes.
Okay,
You
this
don't
is
need
where
a
it gets
lot of
exciting.
time.
It's second
I'll confirm
alignment.
that. Anyone who's up here, you can leave. You don't have to say. 15
Okay,
minutes or
so it looks like two Warren supporters
If you're leaving, you must
have
give your ballot to Bill right here. If you're leaving,
joined
your ballot over here.
the Biden side. And you can hear the chants from Biden supporters and Bernie supporters trying to convince those who voted or caucused for non-viable candidates to go to another side. So it looks like there's some hesitation. People are also welcome to leave if their candidate was in fact not viable. The Biden side cheered because they got someone, and the Bernie side responded in kind, even though that didn't. Interesting, these Warren supporters going over to Biden. You have to wonder what people are thinking when it comes to policy, what they truly support. Just because I couldn't really say it earlier, welcome new members James, Nick, and Kurt. You guys are absolutely amazing. We are now 12 members away from 1,400 members. Remember, we need to get to 1,500 to send Jordan to South Carolina. statuscoup.com/join. enthusiasm on the Bernie side is quite powerful, let's say. They have 15 minutes allotted, but they may not use all of that time if everyone has finished realigning. Welcome, new member Julie. Yay, Julie. Thank you so much. We are now just 111 members away. Oh my goodness. We are so close to reaching 1,500 members. Please consider joining today. No, don't just consider it. Do it. Please, please, please. I know it sounds like I'm begging, and maybe I am a little bit, but you know why? It's because I want Jordan on the ground in South Carolina, because the establishment is going to be going after Bernie. If Bernie comes away winning Nevada today, which it looks like he will according to polling, entrance polling, and the polls that we had before today, then the establishment's going to come out full force against him. We need Jordan on the ground for this. statuscoup.com/join. We have almost 2,400 people watching, 1,400 likes. We need 1,000 more people to smash that like button. Go ahead and press that thumbs up button that you see. It really helps us get seen in more people's YouTube feeds. Share this video on your Twitter, your Reddit, your Facebook, your Facebook groups. Absolutely everywhere that you hang out online. Share it, share it, share it.
Minutes remaining. If you have realigned and pay attention to this, if you have realigned and are still in possession of a voter card and have already realigned, fill out the red portion of your voter card.
Okay, so as you just heard, those who realigned have a portion on their presidential preference card that they are filling out now that they have realigned. So this is the record keeping that people talk about, the paper trail that people talk about when it comes to caucuses. Okay, so we have someone coming over asking a question of the Bernie supporters. I believe he's a Biden supporter. A Biden supporter has come over. As best as I can tell, this is a Biden supporter who kind of crossed lines. I'm not quite sure. Not sure what's going on, trying to figure it out. It seems like some passionate speech going on over there, some talking back and forth, but I cannot hear what is going on. So it's her job to convince people, if that is in fact a Biden supporter, it's her job to convince that person to realign. I think that's what's going on. I might not be correct. Jordan has just texted in some shenanigans. Cheyenne High School in North Las Vegas rejected the rules that we can have rejected rules that they can have as many observers as can fit in the caucus room. So as I mentioned earlier, there are observers in this room. They're behind a velvet rope, but anyone is supposed to be able to come in and observe this process as part of democracy. So in Cheyenne High School in North Las Vegas, they rejected the rules and apparently did not let enough observers in, as many observers in as wanted to come in and could fit. And in fact, apparently the site lead out of Nevada Dems ignored the Bernie Sanders observers who were trying to sign in. So when you come in as an observer, which is what press had to do, you sign in, you register just as an observer, so they keep track of who's here. I assume that those observers were probably wearing Bernie paraphernalia, which is allowed. But if indeed these reports are true, then they rejected some Bernie Sanders observers, which is highly, highly concerning. Also, welcome new member Vivian. Yay, Vivian. I am so happy to have you as a member. You're going to get awesome perks. Everyone who's joined today, getting amazing behind the scenes videos, photos, extra content, more content to come. You get monthly member calls with Jordan and myself. And if you join today and tomorrow, or yesterday, then you get a special phone call, personal phone call from Jordan and myself, or a video. So really exciting stuff. Bonuses just for today and tomorrow. because we are trying to get Jordan to South Carolina, where there will most likely be shenanigans and major establishment attempts to stop Bernie Sanders in his tracks. Go to statuscoup.com/join. We are funded by you guys. We're totally independent. We don't accept corporate cash, and that is why we are here on the ground talking to people. That's why we've been here in Nevada for the past few days. Holy cow, we just got 3 additional signups. Roy, Madeline, Jesse, and LJ. Oh my goodness, guys, you're amazing. That actually seems like 4 new signups. I don't know. So we are only 6 members away from 1,400. Guys, let's get to 1,400 in the next few minutes. I know we can do it. Everybody right now, $5 a month, statuscoup.com/join. Still trying to figure out what's going on with this man. We have several Bernie Sanders supporters talking to him. So he's walking. This man is walking back over. So he decided to stick with the Biden side. I don't know what the conversation was.
5 minutes remaining. If you still have a voter card, please complete the red portion of it.
Welcome, new member Eli. We are now just 5 members away from 1,400. Let's reach that in the next few minutes. Statuscoup.com/join. It's about to get exciting. We're about to find out the winner of the caucus here at the Bellagio.
Does anyone else still need time with the remaining voter card? Okay. Now that the final alignment is complete and that everyone is in their preference groups, I'll now calculate and announce the final total number of eligible caucus attendees in each preference group. Please hold up your ballot if you still have one remaining.
We're at 39 at the first realignment, so 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45.
Anybody else on the right have a ballot remaining? Great. If you're on the left hand
So
side,
she counted
please hold up your ballot.
45 on the Biden side. They're about to count. Okay. 45 for Biden, 76 for Bernie. So only one person realigned to Bernie, but they are ahead by a lot at 76. Very, very interesting to me that the Warren supporters realigned with Biden. Update on a lot of lawyers are posting on social media that the Nevada Dems asking, the NDAs that the Nevada Dems were asking volunteers to sign are not enforceable because they are volunteers. So that's something that we reported on, that volunteers were being asked by the Nevada Dems, the Democratic Party here, the state party, to sign non-disclosure agreements. And as you know, the only reason, or a lot of the reason, that we knew about shenanigans and the disaster of Iowa, the errors, is because of volunteers. So the fact that they used these NDAs was concerning for a lot of people. Of course, they tried to explain it away by saying, oh, you know, we've done it in the past. No one really raised this issue in the past, and it's only because of what happened in Iowa, but this is totally normal. But it's Nevada. We're here in Las Vegas, where trickery is afoot. Again, 45 for Biden, 76 for Bernie here at the Bellagio caucus site. in Las Vegas, Nevada. It looks like they are kind of conferring up at the front there. Oh my goodness, guys, this is so incredible. Welcome new members, Chris, Milo, Jody, Brittany, Sean, and Charles. We just passed 1,400 members. That is simply incredible. Thank you guys so, so much. We are just 98 away from 1,500 and with enough funding to get Jordan to South Carolina. Please join. We're just 98 members away. I cannot believe it. You guys are you're funding the media revolution. You are funding independent media. Go to statuscoup.com/join, get tons of bonus content, get a personal phone call from Jordan and myself, and get amazing extra content that we have a lot of plans in the works. So members are going to get more and more stuff. Join as low as $5 a month. We also have over 3,000 live viewers with just 1,800 likes. We need, 1,200 more likes. So smash that like button. The way YouTube's algorithm works is that the more people who smash the like button, the more people who see the stream in their feeds. Let's get that viewership up. Share it absolutely everywhere. Share it on your Twitter, your Facebook groups, your Reddit, your subreddits, everything. People are just kind of standing around waiting for the results. Again, they're conferring at the front there. She's walking over to the microphone, so let's see what she has to say. Oh my goodness, more. Welcome new members, Francis, Sherilyn, and Andrew. We are 95 members away.
I will now award delegates to each preference group based on the total number of eligible caucus attendees in each preference group. We will use the following poster and math equation to award delegates. The math to award delegates will work as follows. This at-large caucus is awarding 51 delegates to our county convention on April 18th. The total number of eligible caucus attendees is 123. Joe Biden preference group has 45 members. Bernie Sanders preference group has 76 members. Uncommitted preference group has 2 uncommitted members. Now that we have awarded each group their delegates, each preference group will elect the delegates they would like to send to the county convention on April 18th. Before we do so, I would like to read another statement. Discrimination in the conduct of Democratic Party affairs on the basis of gender, identity, expression, race, age, color, national origin, religion, sexual orientation, physical disability, or economic status is prohibited. In order to encourage full participation by all Democrats in the delegate selection process and in all party business, diversity programs shall be implemented with particular concern for minority groups as defined in the Democratic National Committee Charter. Now I would like to take a minute to explain the role of a delegate to the county convention. Delegates to the county convention attend the all-day convention on Saturday, April 18, 2020, and vote on a variety of party matters, including, but not limited to, the county party platform, members of the County Central Committee, electing delegates to the state convention in Las Vegas, May 30, 2020. If you wish to run as a national delegate to attend the Democratic National Convention in Milwaukee from July 13 through July 16, 2020, you must be elected as a delegate to the county convention and from there to the state convention. Now each preference group shall take nominations for the position of county delegate. As a reminder, preference group Joe Biden will elect 19 delegates. Preference group Bernie Sanders will elect 32 delegates. Preference group Uncommitted will elect no delegates. If you would like to run to be a delegate to the Democratic National Convention, you must be here in attendance today. Please proceed in electing delegates within your preference groups. Each group will also elect alternates to the county convention. Each group can elect as many alternates as they would like. However, there should be at least one alternate for each delegate. There is no cap on the amount of alternates that can be elected. Please note that we should try to elect an equal number of men and women. To run for national delegate, you must be elected at this precinct caucus. You are allowed to nominate anyone from within your precinct to the county convention, even if they are not present in this caucus. When each group has finished electing their delegates and alternates, I will pass out forms for each elected delegate and each elected alternate to fill out. You may begin to elect your delegates and alternates.
Okay, as you just heard, they're electing delegates. You have to be present in order to be a delegate for a state convention. Welcome new members, Fred and Thomas. We are now 93 members away from 1,500. Guys, if we don't get to 1,500 members and Jordan can't go to South Carolina, we need him on the ground. We so appreciate all of you guys. These new members are incredible. I love our members so much. statuscoup.com/join. Also, as an update, Desert Oasis High School just announced that they don't have the registrations or the early ballots yet. They are on the way. Wow. So that is that is absurd. You know, that's really just, there are no words for that. How can you not have those things? Those are the simplest things that you need to have. The most basic level is having registrations. And of course, the early ballots.
What was this caucus like? So it's really interesting to see
Among white voters, Bernie Sanders is at 30%, Pete at 19%, Amy Klobuchar at 14%, Elizabeth Warren at 14%, Biden at 12%. Again, those are not actual figures. Those are according to entrance polls. But Bernie seems to be coming away a winner so far, at least according to entrance polls and polling that we had before today. Oh my gosh, guys, I'm going to cry with joy or either start doing cartwheels around the room. Welcome new Status Coup members, Sam, James, Walt, Eric, Katie, Betty. Oh my gosh, guys. I seriously cannot believe this. Thank you so, so much. We are now just 88 members away from 1,500. I know we can do it. We need to get to 1,500 members so that we can send Jordan to South Carolina. statuscoup.com/join. You're amazing. Again, they are choosing the delegates that will go on to state convention. Those people have to be here. So Bernie Sanders group needs to get 35 people ready to go to the convention. So they're negotiating, trying to figure out what they're going to do. New entrants polling in among black voters, Biden at 34%, Bernie at 28%, Steyer at 17%. And this is interesting because South Carolina, Bernie is catching up to Biden. Jordan says to say where this is. I've said it, I'll say it again. We're at the Bellagio Hotel. It's actually it's really opulent. It took a really long time to walk down to the ballroom. It's Las Vegas, baby, right? So we're here in the Bellagio Hotel, which is a caucus site on the Vegas Strip. And there's a lot of union members here. A lot of working class people, and Bernie came out a winner. It's a diverse group. We're able to bring this to you live because of your incredible support and because we are determined to be on the ground where the people are, seeing what's happening, showing you what's happening. It is so meaningful that we're able to bring you this caucus process live. This is part of our supposed democracy. They're almost out of time, so they're finishing up this process. Oh, wow, amazing. Welcome new Status Coup members, Michelle, Jerry, Sam, Tashana, and Steven. We are just 83 members away. Woohoo! Thank you so much for joining. Oh my goodness. I know I keep saying, oh my goodness, but I truly can't believe it. You guys are incredible. statuscoup.com/join. Just 83 members away from 1,500 and South Carolina. Let's get Jordan to South Carolina. It'll be so great. And it's important. The establishment is going to come after Bernie more and more. Please, statuscoup.com/join. Let's get Jordan there. If you are already a member, you can also support us at statuscoup.com/supportsc. That's statuscoup.com/supportsc if you're already a member, or you want to give some more support for our in the field reporting. Oh, it just keeps coming in and coming in. Welcome, new members, Kyle, William, and Bash. We are now just 80 members away from 1,500. Guys, I'm going to faint right here on the floor. A mixture between fainting and jumping up and down and doing those cartwheels. Please join statuscoup.com/join. Your support means the world, keeps us completely independent. Keep smashing that like button so that more people see this stream. That's how YouTube's algorithm works. The more people who like the stream, the more people who see it. Also, if you want notifications for the next time we go live or the next breaking news, go to, text, I almost said a go to Joe 303030 sort of thing. So if you want live text notifications, text COUP to 474747. That's text Coup, the word Coup, to 474747. Welcome, 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 new members, Susan, Frank, and Kyle. We are now just 77 members away from 1,500. Guys, I wish I could be standing up on camera right now, jumping up and down for you with excitement. statuscoup.com/join. Keep it coming. Let's get to 1,500 members by the end of this stream, guys. I think we can do it. There's so many of you watching this. We are bringing you this caucus live. We are going to be live later on at the Bernie Sanders Results Watch Party. Please help us. This keeps us in the field. We need 1,500 members to send Jordan to South Carolina so he can keep an eye on all the shenanigans that go on. statuscoup.com/join. Okay, so it looks like we have the caucus is ending. It seems they've chosen their delegates. So the people who are not going to be delegates, I believe, are now leaving. Oh, she's saying...
Thank you. Well done.
Delegates, please stay in the room. If you've been elected as a delegate, please stay in the room.
So behind us, they have elected their delegates. This was such an exciting process, seeing the caucus play out. Bernie Sanders came away with the majority of the delegates, so very, very exciting. I also, oh my goodness, I also want to welcome Susan, Colton, and Pauline. We are now just 74 members away. Susan, Colton, and Pauline, and all the members who've joined today, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. You keep us in the field. 74 members away. I know we can do it. I know there are 74 people on this stream who want to join. statuscoup.com/join. So Jordan's been texting me a lot of interesting things that, one second here.
Preference group to come up to the front to verify the results.
One second. I'm going to try to grab some people. I don't know when I'm allowed to do that because I don't know which ones are delegates and which ones have to stay put. Sorry guys. Trying to figure out what they're saying. Anyway, so there are a lot of weird things going on, such as not receiving at certain caucus sites the registrations or the early ballots. I want to figure out what's going on with that. There's a lot of news that I need to catch up on. Everything went pretty smoothly here. There was no real weirdness. There was one little, the one person realigned early, but they took care of that quickly, and that person eventually did realign with Bernie from the Warren camp. It was very interesting to me, as I said before, that the majority of the Warren caucusers went over to the Biden side. So when you're thinking about policy, well, initially at least, Warren supporters wouldn't be at all aligned with Biden. But now here we are. They've gone on over. So you have to wonder what that says about Warren, the Warren ideology and what's happening there with her supporters. So it'll be interesting to see that play out today on a wider scale throughout Nevada. And it'll be interesting to see how it plays out across the country. Oh, wow. Welcome new members, Courtney, Michael, Roxanne, and David. We are now just 70 members away from 1,500. Oh, wow. Yay! Thank you guys so much. Go to statuscoup.com/join, and remember, you'll get a special phone call or special video just for you guys. Jordan and I will record that or get on the phone with you if you join before the end of the caucus. So that's joining yesterday or today or by tomorrow, by the time we leave. We really need 1,500 members to be able to afford to send Jordan to South Carolina. It's incredibly important that we are there. They're going to step up the establishment attacks against Bernie Sanders. We want to be on the ground to cover it all. And remember, we are completely independent. We are totally here just for you. No corporate funding, just the truth. Okay, so they are asking one representative from each camp to go up and verify results. Again, they have chosen the delegates. Bernie Sanders came away with the plurality of delegates. I want to see if I can grab some supporters. They quickly cleared out of the room those who were not delegates. The verification of results. Matthew, can you come on?
Yeah, totally.
Yay! So we've interviewed Matthew before. What do you think? What did you think about this process?
I just got here at the end of it, but I'm really excited to hear the results.
Yeah, for sure. So it seemed like a pretty smooth thing. One thing that I noticed that I was just talking to the audience about, it seemed weird to me that obviously Warren wasn't viable. It seemed strange to me that just one Warren supporter went to Bernie, the rest went to Biden. I believe there were 4 of them who went to Biden. So on a policy level, how does that make any sense?
On a policy level, I don't really get it. But if you look at Nathan Robinson's analysis on who's represented by Warren and other candidates, you'll see that she's perfectly in between Biden and Bernie Sanders, or Buttigieg and Bernie Sanders. And we've seen more recently her turning the heat up on Bernie Sanders as opposed to Biden. I don't think we saw any attacks on Biden in the last debate. And we have seen several moments where she has come at Bernie Sanders on on the issue of his followers. And we obviously know that whole blowout with the claim that Bernie Sanders said that he didn't think that a woman could be president, she claimed. So I think there is a lot of his, or a lot of her base that have been turned away from him by her and her, the way that she's addressing Bernie Sanders at this time. And on a policy level, it doesn't make sense. But she does not seem like she is going to endorse Bernie if she does drop out. And I think that that's just an indication of why her supporters would go. Why her supporters would go to this to the Biden side. It's also shocking, though, right?
Yeah, it totally is. Have you heard of anything? So Jordan's been sending me some updates from other caucus sites. So at Cheyenne High School, I don't know if you've heard this, in North Las Vegas, they rejected the rules that they could have as many observers as they could fit in the caucus room. And apparently the site lead there, out of Nevada Dems, ignored Bernie Sanders observers trying to sign in.
I'm not surprised by that. I know that certain people from certain campaigns have been allowed to be site leads or caucus chairs, and certain people from other campaigns haven't been allowed. And I know that Bernie Sanders has people from his campaign that weren't allowed to be in that process, but we know there was an article released recently showing that somebody from the Buttigieg campaign was allowed to oversee the results of the caucuses here in Nevada. So after the NDA controversy, and all of these details adding up, we have to demand more transparency of the caucus process, and ultimately use that to argue why the caucuses should not exist.
There's another thing that I want to point out to you, something else that happened. So in Desert Oasis High School, they just announced that they don't have the registrations or early ballots yet. They are on the way. So that was at 12:48 p.m., that they didn't have the registrations or the early ballots to count.
So do you know if that's happening anywhere else?
I haven't heard. That's the only one I've heard of so far.
Do you know if they had that here?
They didn't talk about any early ballots. That's a good question. So far, I have not heard of any problems here.
So we saw that, so in the previous caucus, there was around 80-something, I think 84,000 people who took part in it. With early voting, there were 77,000 people that cast early votes. Most of those votes came from new voters in the process. So what this means is, as a Bernie supporter, and this maybe applies to Warren supporters as well, and possibly could have applied to Yang if he was still in, a lot of those people are probably going to the more progressive base. They're not a part of the political class. They're coming from the outside in, right? So what we see here is that Nevada isn't ready for this many people taking part in the process. And again, it goes back to the idea that the caucus system does not support a large population. It doesn't enfranchise voters. It's not a system that the Democratic Party should allow anymore. So I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah, you did. I did. I wanted to get your thoughts on just shenanigans that we're seeing in general, or just incompetence, or just...
It seems like incompetence. Because those early votes are going to go to... We know those early votes are going to go to the progressives. We know that is going to influence the people that are in the room. So if they get those votes after they've already made their decision, there's some bias there, because in a typical caucus system, you see who is organizing where, and there is a bandwagon effect. There is I want to be on the winning team effect, and they go to the corner. They're more likely to go to the corner where they, want to be a part of the crowd. And the early voting would be an indication of, all of these supporters supporting Warren and Warren and Bernie. So it's kind of disappointing. Incompetence is part of the process. But again, we shouldn't have caucuses.
Yeah, well, another thing that I want to point out, and let me find this stat, I have to scroll. I believe it was 56 in entrance polling, 56% of Latino voters were supporting Bernie Sanders. What do you think that says about his diverse support on a wider scale beyond Nevada?
Yeah. Can I speak on what that means for Nevada as well?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, cool. So we see that in Nevada, there's 20% of, it's around 20, maybe 15% of the population that is Latino. So that's going to be a huge influence on the vote. And if we had the same population in those early states, I think we'd see the numbers, we'd see this momentum of the Sanders campaign a lot larger. You know, those early wins in white states where he doesn't do well with older and whiter voters that are taking place in those caucuses and primaries. If we had Nevada, if we had the more diverse states, Sanders would be doing really well. So the votes here are an indication that Sanders will continue to grow to basically maintain dominance over the POC vote. And that's a huge deal as we go into South Carolina. As a recent poll just indicated, Bernie Sanders now leads with black voters as we go into South Carolina. And many of the people there have said in South Carolina that their main priority is beating Donald Trump. And who has been doing the best in all the states? Who's the front runner? That's what they want to know. And now we know. So that's probably why the tide has shifted a little bit. And I think it's going to continue to shift. And you can see that they're really scared.
Absolutely. So do you think that if black voters and people of color in South Carolina see, because it's pretty close, I think in some polls Biden is still ahead among black voters in South Carolina, sometimes margin of error. So do you think, as you say, people kind of vote based on what they see? So what kind of doors does that open for Bernie in South Carolina? Speak more on that.
Bernie Sanders is someone who has been growing consistently and has been told that he's not electable. Now that argument is completely thrown out. Voters may not have supported him before because they thought he wasn't electable. But now we see the tides completely shifted. We see the momentum just growing. We hear people from the Bloomberg campaign saying, if we don't stop Sanders right away, it's going to be too late. We hear commentators and pundits are saying, that they think it might actually be too late. We see 538 saying that, no, we don't know if there's a contested convention. We actually see that it's likely that Sanders could also win. 2 in 5 chance that no one wins, we go to a contested convention, or 2 in 5 chance that Bernie Sanders wins. And what we're hoping tonight is that we get the results in, and Nevada was a big win. We saw the polls yesterday. We were up by around 18%. And I really think, based on what I've heard from the early caucuses, that Bernie's been winning most of those. Have you been hearing the same thing from Jordan?
Yep. So far, I mean, we don't have who's winning. We don't have results, but just based on the entrance polling, that's what we have. So I want to ask you a little, and we talked about this yesterday, about the contested convention. I want to hear your thoughts on the possibilities of that today and what it has meant historically.
Okay. So the contested convention is a topic that really influences the future of the Democratic Party. We've seen a lot of really bad results come out of these contested conventions. We've seen that most of the people that are basically chosen by the party that go on to face off the Republican in the general election are more likely to lose. We saw in the case of Humphrey being chosen that it led to a lot of turmoil, riots, and this year, just based on people I'm seeing on social media, people are buying yellow vests to bring to the convention. People are bringing all of the people they know. What are they expecting? They're expecting the convention to be stolen from Bernie Sanders based on a history of bias towards his campaign from 2016, and potentially now, it's unclear. So that's how his followers feel. Bernie Sanders is not concerned. Bernie Sanders does not want, you can see based on what he's saying, that he does not care about that. He wants to just focus on every election right now. He doesn't want to worry about that. So this is not about Bernie. This is not about what he thinks. This is just what the activist aspect of some of his followers, or some of the followers of his base are thinking. I am unclear of what's going to happen. If we go into a contested convention, we really have to be prepared to trust into the system until it, fails us, But for all we know, the Democratic Party does want the best candidate. The most recent poll shows that Bernie Sanders is the only current presidential candidate to be chosen. If we're going off history, though, we might think that Bloomberg is basically Humphrey. Bloomberg coming in, the first major oligarch, the richest media owner in, I think, U.S. history, and definitely running the most expensive campaign ever, coming into the race basically as a shadow candidate, coming in last minute to win the Super Tuesday states. He doesn't really seem like a real candidate still. He seems like the candidate that they would pick because he has the money, because he's given, I think it was $300 million to the DNC. So, he's earned his influence, is a soft way of putting it. And if they were to choose someone, he could buy the people that make those decisions. And he could have an influence on the lobbyists that are part of the superdelegate process. And remember, each superdelegate represents 10,000 people. Another reason why we need to end the superdelegate system. So the contested convention is something that is bringing a lot of turmoil back to the surface from 2016, basically. And progressives want to trust the party. We want this process to go well. We want to beat Donald Trump, and we hope that the DNC makes the right decision. And if we go to that they choose the person that can actually beat Donald Trump.
Very good. I want to give a quick member update. This is so exciting. We've gotten so many new members on this live stream. It's been wild. So I don't even know what Jordan, text me if you can, how many members. Oh, he's texting new shenanigans too, so hold on for that update. But welcome, who did I not read last? Welcome new members, Courtney, Michael, Roxanne, and David. We are now, there's even more than that. Okay, and also new members, Rob, John, Justin, Matt, James, Ryuda, and Elise. Oh my gosh, we're 60 members away from 1,500. I think we can do it. Come on, statuscoup.com/join. I know we can get there. Send Jordan to South Carolina. We need to get to 1,500 members to send him to South Carolina to cover the primaries. We're completely independent. You're going to get a personal phone call or personal video from Jordan and myself if you join before tomorrow. statuscoup.com/join. Oh my goodness. Okay, so the shenanigans that we're talking about. Let's see what this breaking news in. Julian Castro is at the Caucus site. Well, someone is saying that he's at the Caucus site that they are at, and gave a speech to a precinct about supporting Warren. But it is against the rules for anyone not caucusing to do electioneering in the room. He told me he was told it was okay before leaving the room. Wow, so that seems pretty egregious. We were told if we were from out of state, we were not allowed to do electioneering in the room. Then that person walked in and saw Julian Castro doing exactly that. Thoughts?
Do you remember in 2016 when Bill Clinton was it in New Hampshire?
Yeah.
He was showing up. That's Julian Castro, I guess, this year.
Yeah, Julian Castro, the new Bill Clinton.
Just showing up and giving a speech. Wow. Well, we know who, we obviously know who he wants to elect, but we have to be really concerned about these subtle moments where these people are trying to bend the rules. And imagine if someone from the Sanders campaign did that. What would happen?
Absolutely, yeah.
It would already be published in the Washington Post right now.
There'd be 16 articles about it in the Washington Post alone.
Yeah, in the next 12 hours, there'd be 16 articles just about that. Yeah, so I'm sure there'll be a lot of Twitter fights about it tomorrow, but I don't think it'll make the Washington Post. We'll see.
Absolutely. Okay. Any last thoughts you want to leave us with about the caucus today?
No, I have no thoughts. Thanks for having me on. And Jamal?
Thanks for, we'll see you later today at the Bernie results party. Yes. So that'll be a good time. Thanks, Matthew. All right, really nice guy. We are just 58 members away from 1,500 members. That is absolutely incredible. We are in the field for you. We are giving the microphone back to the people. No corporate cash, nothing like that. Completely independent. Statuscoup.com/join. I don't know if there's anyone else I can grab. It's just press everywhere. I know Tina was around. Jamal, can you grab Tina? Have her come on. Okay, we're going to try to get Tina Desiree Burke to come on. She's going to come on with me and give her thoughts. You know that she always has a lot of good thoughts. We've had her on, I believe in Iowa. Jordan interviewed her, and we interviewed her the other day. Tina is great. Here we have Tina Desiree Burke. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you? We won.
Good. Yeah. So what do you think? What do you think about the results?
I'm actually surprised there wasn't any drama. I'm not. The only thing that does surprise me though is that Biden did have such a large group. I didn't expect that. I thought it was going to be Warren and not Biden, and Warren had a very small group.
It was very small. I was actually really surprised by that as well when I looked at Warren's group and I saw. What did you think about the fact that only one, or were there total maybe 5 Warren supporters, and I think
6, 7 maybe.
One went to Bernie, the rest went to Biden.
Yeah, went to Biden. Yeah, no. Okay, so this tells me all you need to know about Warren voters. They're not progressive. I've been saying this for a long time now. I don't think Warren's that progressive. If you look at her past history, she's done some good things as far as consumer protection finance. I will grant that. But look at some of her other positions and some of her history, and it becomes pretty clear that she's really not that progressive.
Yeah, which is surprising on a policy level. Why would those, originally they thought she was progressive. So why would those Warren supporters go on over? And I think it's exactly what you just said, because she's not actually progressive.
2 words. Okay, boomer.
Or okay, bloomer. No.
Okay, bloomer. Oh, okay, who had 0 presence. Tom Steyer was actually here earlier before you guys got here. I actually got to interview him a little bit. I thought he would have more supporters than what he had ultimately had. And he had, 4 maybe? If even?
Right.
So you have to wonder why Tom is doing this. I did ask him, I'll upload the interview later, but my last question to him was, are you having a bromance with Bernie Sanders? You'll have to keep you in suspense to what his answer was.
Yeah, remind people where to go to see that.
So Rockfin, ROKFIN, my name, Tina Desiree Burke, is where I'm putting everything now. I'm not really on YouTube, so.
Well, we might have to change that. So another thing, and I just talked to Matthew about this actually. Yeah. So news just came in. Jordan's been sending me breaking news. So Julian Castro was at a caucus site that someone was at and gave a speech and was doing electioneering in the room, which is not allowed.
That is definitely not allowed. Seriously. Did somebody get video of that?
I don't know. Actually, Jordan, text me if there's any video of that happening, because that would be really really interesting just to see. Interesting is a one way to put it.
So, but where was the Nevada Democratic Party folks in there allowing that to happen? They should know that that's against the caucus rules.
You would think so. And we also had other news that they were not allowing specific observers in the room that were wearing Bernie gear or that were Bernie observers. And so they did not, as long as there's enough room, observers are allowed to come observe. So
what was the beef, that they had Bernie Sanders t-shirts on?
Apparently Bernie Sanders supporters were turned away.
Hang on. So Julian Castro giving a speech isn't electioneering, but wearing a t-shirt is? Are you kidding me with this?
I don't know what their reason was, but they turned away these Bernie supporters, and that doesn't seem
kosher to me at all. That's not kosher.
And another shenanigan that Jordan reported was that at one site, and I can't find in this slew of text here. Yeah, so at Desert Oasis High School, they announced that they don't have the registrations or the early ballots yet. They are on the way, and that was at 12:48.
So I want to just make a point of something on the early ballots, which I think is really interesting. Last year, this caucus was huge. And this year we had 160 folks in here, so this was a very small caucus, and I think the reason why is because of the early voting. I think that made a huge impact to people actually physically showing up here today, and I think that actually benefits Bernie Sanders, because a lot of the reason they did these at-large caucuses was they thought they would be able to pick up voters that are work shifts, or they're not able to make it back home to their actual precincts where they live. So, which I think is a good idea, and I think the early voting is a good idea, but I think I think the fact that so many people did vote early, that leads me to believe that Bernie Sanders is going to be way ahead at the end of the night. Just my thought.
Yeah, really interesting. And the polling, the early entrance polling shows that he's going to win. We'll see, though. I don't want to count my chickens before they're hatched, but
I think he's going to win. Plus, they had such a good ground game here. And I think what's also important to point out is a lot of the polls that we look at that are more traditional polls, they're often only speaking to Democrats, like dyed-in-the-wool registered Democrats, and they kind of ignore these independent folks that re-registered to vote for Bernie Sanders. And Bernie Sanders has always polled well with those individuals. And the actual base of the Democratic Party, those that stay registered year-round, is like 26-27%. So it's not a lot of folks. The independents are much larger. The left-leaning independents, I think, are the largest group. And those are the Bernie Sanders people. So I think we're going to see some interesting figures come in tonight.
I agree.
And we'll be at the Bernie bar.
Yes, rebar for the Bernie results party. We also have more breaking news. Chris Matthews just suggested maybe the Democratic Party is better off with 4 more years of Trump than Bernie. Are you kidding me, Chris Matthews? What kind of hack are you? That is just... How could anybody watch MSNBC and say that they are a liberal or progressive network? That's just absurd. They are clearly just establishment mouthpieces.
One of the things I was talking with Tom Steyer with earlier was the fact that the plutonomy, this group of folks, the 1%, and it's not just politicians, it's the donor class, it's the media like Chris Matthews, that it's all kind of intertwined. These folks aren't going to go down without a fight. And one of the questions I asked him was, like, what is it going to take? Because at a certain level, the plutonomy must realize that if they don't do something to lessen the income inequality, they're going to end up with nobody left to sell widgets to, which actually also adversely affects them. There's like a relationship that happens. And his response was like, it's not going to happen. I'm saying, you're saying they're never going to wake up and have that realization. He goes, no, we're going to have to force it. So he might be right on this. And Chris Matthews is like losing his mind. The whole Russia thing the other night, I'm like, dude, is the Russians under your bed?
Right. That's shocking. Even for Chris Matthews, that's shocking. Who suggested, what did he suggest, that Bernie Sanders supporters were going to attack people? Or
red square, cutting off head, I don't know, all kinds of crazy stuff. I don't remember now, but I just remember watching it going, this dude's losing it. So
he is losing it. This is a bridge too far even for Chris Matthews.
Wow, 4 more. I mean, do they actually believe that? They believe that a Trump presidency is better for the Democratic Party than Bernie Sanders. That's really where they're at. This tells me they're so far removed in their elitist bubble. They're so out of touch with what's happening in the rest of the country. I think they actually do believe that on a certain level.
I think they do. I think they're under this disillusion of they've escaped reality. They're on a totally different planet.
They're just like sort of plutonomy bubble is what I like to call it, and they don't talk with people outside of their bubble. So when you come in and you pop their bubble with some like boop reality, they kind of look at you sideways because they're like, where are you hearing this from? They really believe this. I was in Iowa when I was talking to the New York Times folks. They're part of that sequestered bubble. They really don't get what's going on in the country.
You've dealt with corporate media a lot, in both having to work for them previously and now being independent on your own and still having to we're surrounded by certain people. But what do you think happens to people? Do they truly believe what they're saying?
Yeah. They do. I think they're being sincere when they say this stuff. They really don't understand what's going on. And part of it's also this sort of what in philosophy we call it antecedent bias, which means they only really want to observe the tangential items that kind of formulate their conclusion. They want to only look at evidence that convinces them that what they think already is the correct position. And I think part of it is as a giant echo chamber. So they're all talking to each other and they're not talking to, when I was in Iowa, I asked any of them, have you gone out and talked to voters? I've been in Cedar Rapids, I've been all over the state. I've actually talked to folks that are going to be caucusing today. And what you guys are saying isn't reality. And they're like this. They don't get it. I mean, and these are folks that I've known in the past. They really don't get it. It's unfortunate. I don't think they're necessarily bad people. They just don't get it. And there needs to be a sort of realignment in the media where people get back to the actual work of journalism. And that means getting off of your chair and going out and talking to people, attending events like this, and seeing what's actually going on. You can't do journalism from your little bubble in Washington, D.C. You can't.
I completely 100% agree. They don't actually get out in the field and travel, or if they do, they stay with each other.
Do you see any of the mainstream media folks out here talking to folks? I mean,
nope. We never do. That's the thing Jordan and I always talk about.
You never do.
Yeah.
it's just sad. It's sad, really.
Oh my gosh. So we have gotten so many new members today. It's so exciting. We are now just 54 members away from reaching 1,500, which is the number we need to get Jordan to South Carolina.
Oh, yeah, Jordan's going to South Carolina. I'm not going, so somebody's got to go.
Welcome new members, Daniel, Sean, Stephen, and Harlan. Yay! Oh my gosh, so many new members have joined. Statuscoup.com/join. And I guess, Jordan, this new poll that you sent me is an entrance poll. So between 18 and 45, 60% went to Sanders, 13% to Buttigieg, which that was interesting. No Buttigieg support here in Bellagio. So 45 plus age, Sanders 20%, Biden 20%. That makes sense.
Steyer 11%. So I actually thought Steyer would have a bigger presence in this particular caucus, and he had none.
Especially since he was here. It seemed like since he was here, he expected something.
I think, well, when you really look at Tom Steyer's positions, even though he's a billionaire, and I am of the belief that every billionaire is a policy failure, let me just disclose that now, but he's actually a fairly progressive guy. I asked him if he was a class traitor too, because he's somebody that actually does believe we should reform Prop 13. He thinks that the commercial property owners aren't paying their fair share. So this is sort of in juxtaposition to most of the state of California's legislator, because they're all bought and paid for by the real estate development firms in the state. So he's taken some bold positions for a guy that's part of that class. So I thought maybe he'd have a little bit more support with those folks, but I guess not.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. Oh my goodness.
It is interesting because it's like the Warren Biden thing is a prime example of what we're talking about. And really at the end of the day, Warren people really do have more in common with Biden, and the Tom Steyer people really do have more in common with the Bernie people. So if you look at strictly policy speaking.
Yeah, policy for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, any last thoughts you want to leave us with on this caucus day?
I'm glad Bernie won. I think he's going to continue to gain momentum. I think this sort of thing going forward is how he's going to end up getting to the convention and being able to take the entire primary. I'm hoping, so.
Very good. Thanks for popping on again.
Talk to you soon.
Okay, bye-bye. All right, guys, we have gotten so many incredible new members today. It really, really helps us report out in the field. I'm going to end soon because everyone is gone. But I want to encourage you to please join today so that we can send Jordan to South Carolina. We are so close. We are just 54 members away. Come on, let's get 4 more members before I close out here so that we're only 50 members away. Statuscoup.com/join. It takes just a second, $5 a month, and Jordan and I are going to give you a special phone call or not both, or a video talking just to you. So that's our special bonus for here for Nevada. We really want to get Jordan to South Carolina. It's important, guys. If Bernie Sanders wins here, the establishment is going to be up in arms. You heard what Chris Matthews just said. Again, if you missed that, breaking, Chris Matthews just suggested that maybe the Democratic Party is better off with 4 more years of Trump than Bernie. That is just complete and absolute derangement. Makes no sense at all. We are now 53 members away from 1,500. So 3 more members before I close out here. Come on, guys. I know we can do it. 52 members away. Oh, we're on a roll. Statuscoup.com/join. We are totally independent. Our funding comes from you. Keep it rolling in. Keep it rolling in. We will be live later on from the Bernie Sanders results party. And it's gonna be cool. It's actually at this place that we have been to before. It's very kind of hipster, grungy dive bar situation. So it would be interesting to see Bernie actually in this location, as we were saying. He would be a little uncomfortable. It's not quite his Denny's location that he seems to prefer. So okay, Jordan says to have him call in. 1 second. Calling Jordan.
Hello.
Hey.
What an amazing journalist on the ground in Nevada. Holy cow.
Thank you, Jordan.
I want to update, and I wanted to call in real quick. We are now 50
Yay!
members away from the promised land of 1,500 status quo members. We might have a lot of new viewers watching, so I just want to tell people, we don't have any money from the big bankers. We have no money from the fossil fuckers. We have no money from big real estate, Silicon Valley. big pharma. You have no money from the big plutocrats funding the Democratic Party, the Republican Party. We don't want their money. We are funded by you, the people. So Jen and I crunched the numbers, and we saw that if we hit 1,500 members this weekend, we'd have enough funding to travel next to South Carolina, which, as Jen said earlier, I mean, we don't want to declare it too early, but if Bernie Sanders wins today, by my estimation, it looks like he might win by 7 to 10 percentage points if these numbers continue to come in. Then Bernie Sanders is going to be heading into South Carolina, winning the first 3 states. And you better believe it, that if Bernie Sanders is heading into South Carolina, winning the first 3 states, there is going to be more fuckery by the Democratic Party, the DNC, the Hillary Clinton machine, the Barack Obama machine, all of them, to try and stop Bernie Sanders from upsetting Joe Biden in South Carolina. And that's why it's very critical to have independent media's eyes and ears on the ground. It's not cheap. Hotels, flights, rent-a-car, food. We're finding out today we definitely need some more equipment if it's raining and other things. So the 50 people left. We need 50 new members. Sign up, statuscoup.com/join. Like Jen said, get behind-the-scenes videos, bonus content, bonus photos, and most importantly, you get to fund great independent journalism. And I'm so excited. I'm just laying in bed, getting better at the sixth place for this. I'm so excited to look forward to tonight, to be able to watch you, Jen, live from what looks like it might be a Bernie Sanders victory party. Just so folks know, we're not resting, we're not taking anything for granted. Jen and I will both be observing, and Jen will be reporting for the rest of the day if there is shenanigans. So keep signing up, statuscoup.com/join. Let me just update it real quick. We are now 48 Status Coup members away from 1,500. That's all I wanted to say, Jen. Thank you for your great work. Thank you, Jamal. And I also want to point out real quick, Bernie Sanders, according to the polls right now, it's not just that he's winning ages 45 and under. Bernie Sanders, according to the entrance polls, is, let me make sure I have it right. Bernie Sanders, according to the entrance polls, is tied with Joe Biden for ages 45 and older. If Bernie Sanders is tied or even competing for over 45 years old, then Bernie Sanders is going to win this by 7 to 10 points. And more importantly, if Bernie Sanders is starting to make inroads with older voters, which has always been his weakest, even though we have a lot of viewers and there's a lot of progressive viewers out there that are older, by the data, older people in majority tend to be more corporate establishment and, will eat our broccoli and Brussels sprouts. But if Bernie Sanders is dominating in age 18 to 45, entrance polls show he's winning 60% of those under 45. But if he's also tied with Joe Biden among over 45, that's it. He's going to crush Nevada, and South Carolina is a different story, but hey, if Bernie Sanders is starting to compete among older voters, that's why you're starting to see them try and tie him as a communist Russian asset to scare the living hell out of older voters. So I just wanted to make sure the viewers knew it's super, super important that he's competing among older voters. That shows a really, really change in the entire electoral dynamics for progressives and Bernie Sanders. Thank you, Jen, and let's hope that we get that extra 48 new members by today, so we have enough funding to go to South Carolina.
The people want to know, how are you feeling?
Honestly, I really turned the corner today. I've had a really bad viral cold the last 5 or 6 days. Morning, I woke up feeling a lot better. Thank you for everybody sending wishes. I guess working 7 days a week, 16 hours a day, 2 years, and catch up with you at some point. And I just want to add, that in a way I think it's a good thing that Chris Matthews just openly said silent and you and I think this forever. The Democratic Party led and let Bernie Sanders breathe near the White House. The whole our democracy is at stake. The whole Russian boogeyman is coming. The whole Trump is an unprecedented threat. There is no more unprecedented threat. Clintons, to the Obamas, to Tom Perez, to all of them. It's somebody that is going to severely decrease jobs for consultants, decrease jobs and influence of think tanks, decrease the jobs and influence of lobbyists, and bring a whole new reality to Wall Street, the pharmaceutical industry, the fossil fuckers, Silicon Valley. That is a much greater threat to them than what is becoming more clear every day to be fascism. And that shows you how severely corrupt the Democratic Party has become, that it is. And by the way, this is just Chris Matthews saying this, but I think you're going to start to see more people openly say what they've been privately feeling, that they would rather 4 more years of Trump and try again in 2024 than go with 30. And that's disgusting.
You there still? Okay, it's just hard to hear you. All right, thanks for calling in, Jordan. Bye. I still see these memberships rolling in. Let me take a look here so I can read them off before we close out. Got to open it up. Sorry, guys. You heard Jordan. The fact that the corporate media is so corrupt is why we need us. This is why we need Status Coup, and this is why you guys are the most amazing people on the planet, because you're supporting us, you're watching us. Just incredible. So welcome new members: Jeffrey, Julia, Charles, Jeanette, Ingrid, Eric, Chandra, Amanda, Laura, Kevin, Avery, Hans, Daniel, Sean, I think we're getting into ones I read, Stephen, Harlan. Oh my gosh, we're just rolling in these new members like crazy. We're now 42 members away from 1,500. Guys, can you believe this? Because I cannot believe this. Please keep joining. You'll get a special phone call or video shout out from Jordan and myself if you join before tomorrow. We love you guys so much. We want Jordan on the ground. We need to get to 1,500 members to make that happen. I know that there are 40 of you who can do that at $5 a month. Jordan just sent me new names. I'll read them again. Julia, Charles, Jeanette, Ingrid, Eric, Chandra, Amanda, Laura, Kevin. Love you guys so, so much. Please share this content. Keep an eye out. Tonight we will be live from the Bernie Sanders results watch party. And keep those memberships coming. We love you guys. All right. See you soon.